The string quartet had just struck up another slow waltz when I caught the glow of Emily's phone lighting the hollow beneath her cheekbone. The screen tilted just enough for me to read the single line that detonated everything. Can't wait to feel you again tonight, bride or no bride. My stomach folded in on itself like a cheap lawn chair. She thumbed the glass dark, slid the phone into the tiny satin purse clipped to her garter, and glided back into Sarah's arms as if the message had never existed. The two of them spun under the fairy lights, white dress against midnight suit, laughing in perfect sync while I stood at the edge of the parquet floor clutching a glass of champagne that had gone warm and flat an hour earlier. I told myself it was a prank. Some idiot cousin with a burner app. Emily had been distant for weeks, sure, but weddings do that. She'd been swallowed by seating charts and floral invoices. Still, the words clung to the roof of my mouth like spoiled wine. I watched her now, the way Sarah's hand settled low on the small of Emily's back, thumb tracing the ridge of her spine through silk. Emily's eyes were closed, lashes fluttering against flushed cheeks, and when Sarah whispered something against her ear, Emily's lips parted in a soft, involuntary sigh that I hadn't heard directed at me in months. My pulse hammered so hard I felt it in my teeth. We'd met junior year of college at a dive bar trivia night. She knew every capital in Africa. I knew every lyric to every song the DJ refused to play. 6 years later I'd carried her over the threshold of the little blue house on Maple, kissed the flower off her cheek after she baked lemon bars for the neighbors, fallen asleep to the sound of her humming while she folded tiny onesies that never got used. Trust wasn't something we discussed, it was the floor we walked on. Until tonight when the floor cracked open and I saw the drop. Sarah had always been there, orbiting us like a bright, harmless moon. They'd been roommates freshman year. Finished each other's sentences, shared clothes and secrets and inside jokes that left me smiling politely on the outside. I liked her. She'd helped me pick the ring, swore she'd kill me if I ever hurt him. When Emily's dad walked out 2 years ago, Sarah flew in from Denver and stayed 3 weeks, cooking lasagna and holding Emily while she cried herself to sleep on the couch. I owed her. So why did the sight of them now feel like swallowing glass? I drifted through the crowd, nodding at uncles, accepting slaps on the back, every congratulation sounding like a nail in a coffin I hadn't realized was mine. At the bar I ordered a double bourbon I didn't taste. Mark, my best man, followed me. You look like someone kicked your dog, man. What's up? I started to lie, then didn't. I tilted my phone toward him, the screenshot I'd managed while pretending to check fantasy football scores. His face went slack. Jesus, Alex. You sure that's? He didn't finish. We both knew Emily's passcode. I'd used it 100 times to add events to her calendar. The thread went back 8 months. Pet names I'd never heard. Plans for hotel rooms in cities I thought were solo work trips. A photo of Sarah's bare shoulder with Emily's teeth marks blooming purple against the skin. Mark put a hand on my arm. You want me to get her away from Sarah? Make a scene. I shook my head. A scene would be easy. The truth was harder. I found them near the garden doors, moonlight spilling over the hydrangeas. Emily's veil had slipped. Sarah was fixing it, fingers gentle at the nape of her neck. Hey, I said, voice scraped raw. They turned together, mirror images of surprise. Sarah recovered first. Grooms cutting in? She offered me Emily's hand like it was a baton in a relay. Emily's smile faltered when she saw my face. Alex? Baby, you okay? I took her fingers, they were ice. We need to talk. Sarah's eyes flicked between us, something unreadable passing over her features. Regret? Triumph? She stepped back. I'll check on the cake. The door swung shut behind her. Emily searched my face. What is it? I pulled out my phone, opened the screenshot, held it up. The garden suddenly smelled too sweet, cloying. Her breath hitched. She didn't deny it. Didn't gasp or cry or slap the phone away. She just closed her eyes like I'd struck her and she was bracing for the next blow. How long? I asked. My voice cracked on the second word. She opened her eyes. They were glassy but steady. Since February. 6 months. Half the time we'd been engaged. Sarah. The name tasted like rust. Emily nodded once. I didn't mean for it to happen. I swear, Alex. It was comfort. Dad leaving wrecked me and you were so patient, but patience started feeling like distance, and Sarah, she just knew. She always knows. Her voice broke. I kept thinking I could stop. That after the wedding it would fade. That I could choose you clean. Choose me clean. Like I was a shirt she'd spilled wine on and planned to bleach later. You let her touch you in our bed? The question tore out before I could stop it. Emily flinched. Never here. Never in the house. As if that made it sacred. I laughed, a sound like tearing paper. Do you love her? The real question, the one clawing up my throat. Emily's tears finally spilled. I don't know. I love you. I do. But with her it's easy. Like breathing. Easy. 8 years of mortgage applications and fertility clinics and learning how she liked her coffee at 3 a.m. when nightmares hit. And Sarah got easy. I wanted to scream, to shove the trellis over, to drag her back inside and make her dance with me until the lie suffocated. Instead I stood there, the man who'd memorized her laughter lines, watching them blur. I thought the distance was wedding stress, I said. I thought if I just held on tighter. She reached for me, I stepped back. Her hand hung in the air between us like a bridge burning. I'm sorry, she whispered. I'm so sorry. Sorry didn't stitch the rip. Sorry didn't erase the image of Sarah's mouth on the curve of my wife's neck, while I slept 10 feet away in the guest room because Emily said she needed space to process. Inside, the quartet launched into our first dance song. Couples swayed under paper lanterns. I saw Mark watching from the doorway, face grim. Sarah stood beside the DJ, arms crossed, eyes on the floor. Emily followed my gaze. What happens now? She asked. Such a small question for such a big ruin. I thought of the honeymoon tickets in my suitcase, the villa in Santorini with the infinity pool she'd circled in the brochure. I thought of coming home to the blue house and packing her books into boxes while she watched from the porch. I thought of waking up alone and realizing the bed would never smell like her coconut shampoo again. I don't know, I said. The honest answer finally. She nodded, swiped at her cheeks with the heel of her hand, smearing mascara into tiny starless galaxies. I'll tell my mom I have a migraine. We can leave separately. Give you space. Space. The word we'd weaponized for months. I almost laughed again. Yeah, I managed. Space. She walked back inside first, veil trailing like a surrender flag. I stayed in the garden until the music stopped and the caterers began stacking chairs. Mark found me an hour later, handed me a flask. We didn't speak. When the last car pulled away, I stood in the empty lot, gravel crunching under my rented shoes, staring at the fairy lights blinking out one by one. Somewhere inside those walls my marriage had ended with a waltz and a text message. I pulled the ring from my pocket, hers, the one I'd slipped on her finger 6 hours earlier while promising forever, and turned it until the diamond caught the moon. Then I slipped it into the koi pond and watched the ripples swallow the last glint of us. Love doesn't die in screaming matches or slammed doors. It drowns quietly in a garden no one will remember, while a string quartet plays a song you once believed was yours alone.